Okay, it says it's streaming live now on Facebook. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another evening of healings and readings with Monika Huppertz. I'm Monika Huppertz, and I am here to today talk about the power of forgiveness, and especially the power of forgiving yourself. And I was dealing with a few people lately who were having troubles in life. It was affecting them physically. Some of it's been affecting emotionally. Some of it was affecting their mental state. It surprised me just how deep the physical body was holding on to whatever it could without having to give up its self-deprecating thoughts. It was very interesting. I was dealing with a teenager and I wasn't getting through. I know that the work that I normally do would work very well, but there was something that wasn't allowing this young girl to move forward. She was having problems, skin problems, bladder problems. It was very difficult for her physically, because it was painful for one thing, mentally, because she was always trying to cover up this rash, emotionally, because she just felt like crap inside. And I had worked on various ways that I know are extremely effective, including my meta healing. Meta healing has to do with how you think about energy healing in general. Do you believe it's witchcraft? Do you believe it's part of the work of the devil? Do you believe it can work? Is it all a bunch of woo-woo hokum? All of these things. I love that science has come to the rescue and has disputed most, if not all, of the claims that people had in worrying about what working with energy can do to them. Some feared it, and there was a lot of fear base around it. And I deal with that kind of an aspect. And even after I had worked on her with that, there was still a problem. So I had to dig a little deeper even. And I thought I had already dug as deep as I could go. But thankfully, I have that stubborn streak in me that won't allow me to just walk away and go, well, I've done all I can do. Somebody else can help. This poor young girl had gone to various doctors, various therapists, and just wasn't making headway. She was making headway with the work I was doing with her. She seems happier, a little bit livelier, a little more pleasant to be around, says her mom. And it worried me that, I couldn't come up with an answer. And her mom asked me in an email this morning, what else do you get? When do you think all this, the work you've been doing just recently, like, was it yesterday, the day before? Yesterday, I guess. Today's Tuesday. When's it going to start to show up in her life? Now, I know that there are times when it takes, I don't know, a couple of sleep cycles is what I normally think of it as, where I've had a session either done for me or I've done for other people. And yes, oftentimes people and myself would feel an immediate release of some sort, but it's usually a few more days till it's gone from the auric field down into the mental and the emotional field, and then finally into the physical body and affect how the body is responding. So I wasn't alarmed or worried that, things wouldn't go through. But then I had this niggly feeling, and I know to trust my gut that there is something more to be looked at. And I kept hearing self-loathing, hating herself. And why was there was an element of being unforgiving of herself, being unforgiving of her upbringing, being unforgiving of her world, it was just a whole snowball effect. I did it in previous sessions go and do past lives, and there was stuff that had happened, and I thought I had cleared those vows, but somehow there was something that was evading me. But when I got onto the power of forgiveness, it was like bing, 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 bing. The lights were going on. And our next session, of course, is going to be more surrounding the forgiveness part. There is a practice called Ho'oponopono. It is a practice of forgiving. The reason why it became popular was a doctor, a psychiatric doctor, I believe. He went into a jail facility, prison, I believe, and he had the inmates' files. And what he did was, I guess in essence, prayed for them. And he was repeating, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you, over and over and over and over again. He took on the mantle of being a surrogate for the person that was in the cell, and imagined that inmate that he was working on at the time feeling the release from being forgiven and moving on from there. Apparently, a lot of these criminals that were in the jail, in the penitentiary, were having improvements. So much so that they didn't have to be locked up in solitary confinement, and then so much so that they didn't have to be in and out of isolation, and it just progressed. Ho'oponopono is the name of that. And I never gave it too much credence. I've used it. I know a lot of people who are in the energy healing world have used it. I don't know if they realize the depth to which it can be taken, though. I know I certainly didn't. And that isn't the practice that changed my view on things. Fast forward, I come across other modalities where forgiveness was a part of this lady's work. ART is the acronym, and now all of a sudden escapes me. I know I have her book here. The Energy Healing Bible is the book. Oh, there we go. ART stood for Accelerated Release Technique. And Renew Aurora. You see that? I want to make sure you can see her name. Very gifted lady. I took her course and was very interested in how she did things. She used a pendulum and works with guides and angels and so on. And one of the components had to do with forgiveness. It was very interesting to come across this piece of information. It was my turn to be the recipient of the healing. And I discovered that I needed to forgive a spirit, an ancestor, a guide. There were several people at various points throughout the sessions that I had with Renew. I had to accept their apologies. It was that important that they apologize. So, of course, I have no problem accepting apologies. Well, then later on, during some of the sessions that I had with her, I had to do the apologizing. Some of them were as simple as, I'm so sorry. Some of them I felt I had to elaborate, and I ended up saying phrases like, I'm so sorry, it was my fault. I hope you can forgive me. I hope you can find it in your heart to move on from this. There were several like that. And twice, I believe, I had to literally go on my knees and make the apology before this particular spirit would release whatever hold that they had on me and would feel justified and would move on. And the healing took place, and I felt better, and things were moving on in the issues that I was working on. This year in Canada, and then last year as well, there was a lot of unmarked graves found at the sites of Catholic schools. The wrongdoings of the priests and the nuns and whoever else was employed there led to deaths of some of the Native children. And as sad as that was, it seemed that nobody, shared much with their parents, the loss of their children. There was no recognition of wrongdoing and so on. This past weekend, there were many people of various tribes of Canada got on a plane with the sole intention of meeting the Pope. And the idea was to hear from the Pope himself an apology for things that had happened decades ago, but was still tearing at the hearts, tearing at the souls of the survivors that went through schooling and are still alive, of the parents of the children who had been lost, of the grandparents, and even of it was affecting family lives, how they were living their lives, feeling so disrespected, I guess would be the right way of putting it. so disrespected that they absolutely needed to hear this apology. Earlier, several years back, and for decades, but I just recall several years back when it really was coming to life, when Justin Trudeau was, I think when he was first elected in, there was a group of Native elders who approached him wanting an apology for the wrongdoings that the Canadian government had done towards the Native people. And they wanted that apology. It was so important. When apologies didn't come forth, it didn't matter how much money or promises or whatever else they were given. It was highly noted that an apology did not come forth. And that meant to the people that they couldn't heal. As a teacher, when one kid would hurt another, whether it was feelings, whether it was a physical, "Hi, Lisa, good to see you," whether it was a slight or a look or something, where one child felt hurt by another, whether, like I say, whether it was physical, mental, emotional, they felt disrespected, they felt unheard, they felt unworthy. One of the few things that helped calm a very either angry or sobbing child had to do with hearing from the other person a sincere apology. Not, "I'm sorry," nothing like that. Nobody felt good with that, not even the person that was apologizing. And I realized just how important, when I look back at all of this, how important an apology is to people. And I don't know if it's just an earth thing where that's what we do on earth to help mend the fences, to help fix the broken hearts, to help repair whatever the damage that was done. These words, "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry," mattered the most. When in my classroom this happened, I asked the children to not just only apologize. I asked them to admit the wrongdoing and ask how they could be made up, how they could make up for the wrongdoing. So my policy in my classroom was, you said to the child you hurt, offended, whatever, "I'm sorry, it was my fault. How can I make it up to you?" 99% of the time, it was the apology that the child wanted to hear. To have something made up to compensate for it was often, "Forget it," kind of a thing was their response, or "Nothing, it's okay. It's okay." They would forgive them for hurting them. And the small 1% was they had to promise not to do it again, to be a little bit more thoughtful, some very small minor things. I think with older kids, I asked them to, at one point, I asked a couple of kids to write a letter of apology. And when the recipients got them, they didn't even want to read them. They wanted to hear those words, "I'm sorry," from the faces, from the lips, from the voices of the perpetrators, the ones who had done them wrong. They want to hear that. And with all of this evidence, all of this coming together, coming to light, it really hit hard how important that feeling and showing empathy and sorrow and even when I've watched news reports, people would comment on how the person being accused just sat there stone-faced, and he didn't look like he was sorry, and he didn't look, or she didn't look, or they didn't look, or whatever it was. If they didn't have a look of remorse on their faces, if they didn't have, head down, bowed, looking like, oh, I can't believe I did this, looking like they're feeling sorry that they've done it, that was something that was very, very important for the people that were in the court to say into that microphone from the reporters. He didn't look like he was sorry. He didn't look like he was sad. They didn't look like they meant what they said. Like that feeling was so important. It meant more than the heaviest sentence that could have been metered out. And I noticed that when the person who is being accused sincerely apologized and a sentence was metered out, the people that were in the court often felt, okay, justice has been served. Yes. When the perpetrator said nothing or looked stone-faced or, was there with a scowl or folded arms or whatever it was, negative body language of any kind, and the judge had given even the maximum sentence, it was never enough. It was never enough. It should have been more, according to the people who were on the other ends of the microphones being interviewed now at that point. I find it fascinating how 3 little words, I'm so sorry, make such a difference to the lives of another person. And when I did the research today for that young lady I spoke of at the beginning, I looked up the words, the power of forgiveness, and how important it was. I would like to read a little bit of what I gleaned from the internet there. Practicing forgiveness can have powerful health benefits. Observational studies and even some randomized trials suggest that forgiveness is associated with lower levels of depression, anxiety, and hostility, reduced substance abuse, higher self-esteem, and greater life satisfaction. How does forgiveness set us free? Forgiveness does not erase the past, but looks upon it with compassion. To withhold forgiveness keeps alive the emotions of hurt, anger, and blame, which discolors your perception of life. To forgive, avoid and ruminating on thoughts of being wronged, rather trust the power of forgiveness to heal the hurt and path. I also looked up the power of forgiveness of self. How many times have we criticized ourselves? If only I had done, if only I wasn't so stupid, if only I didn't do it that way. I hate myself. I can't stand this. Life isn't fair, and so on. And meanwhile, you are handling a very difficult situation, given little to no resources, little to no compassion, little to no support. You handled it in the way that you could at that time, whether it was explosive or not. Some people go within a shell. I'm a person that if somebody does me wrong, I feel hurt. I don't feel angry. I don't feel like I'm going to get them back, but I do feel hurt. And I retreat into a shell. And I know that when I have done someone wrong, and if I haven't apologized, how that festers in me too. Whether it was like literally cutting in front of some guy in traffic, not realizing that somebody else was trying to get in the same lane that I was at the same time, and I didn't look far enough to my right to notice what was going on. Still, it doesn't matter. The forgiveness of self is a big deal. So why is self-forgiveness difficult? Well, some people find that self-forgiveness hard because they don't permit it. They do not permit it and continue wanting to suffer. Wanting to suffer. They want to suffer in remorse. They may interpret as condoning themselves if they forgive and allowing future hurtful acts to take place. Self-forgiveness is also not the nature of narcissists and idealists, that word, as they refuse to admit that they have made mistakes. What happens if you don't forgive yourself? You make yourself feel unworthy. You're afraid to take healthy risks. You spiral into despair, and you don't try to make things better because you don't think you deserve to make things better. This young gal, 18 years old, wasn't feeling that she deserved to feel better. 18. She's got her whole life ahead of her. Her whole life. How is that life going to be if she doesn't start taking it easier on herself? It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be fun. Can it be done? Yes, it can be changed. It can be changed. So as for self-forgiveness, it combats rumination by helping you to resolve your feelings of both guilt and of shame. When we forgive ourselves, we don't forget an offense. Instead, we resolve those feelings of guilt and shame by accepting responsibility for our actions, apologizing, and learning from our mistakes. So what's the process of self-forgiveness? Well, you need to acknowledge your feelings, not deny them. You need to set aside time to focus on your feelings without judgment. Not easy to do. Name your emotions and allow yourself to experience what you feel. You can feel anything you need to feel, and these feelings don't have to define your responses. It's important to have that better mental health and emotional well-being, those more positive attitudes and healthier relationships. A related outcome ties self-compassion with higher levels of success, productivity, focus, and concentration. You have a brighter future. The benefits, healthier relationships, improved mental health, less anxiety, stress, and hostility, lower blood pressure, fewer symptoms of depression, a stronger immune system. This young gal had rashes and bladder problems. It got to her on a physical level and improved self-esteem. The negative consequences of not forgiving has been documented in studies that show it can lead to emotional pain of anger, hate, hurt, resentment, bitterness, and so on. and as a consequence can create health issues, affect relationships, and stop us from experiencing the freedom that forgiveness enables. My mom would hold a grudge. Somebody did something. And I don't know how many times I've heard her, I'll never forgive that person. They did this to me. To me. How could they do that to me? And she didn't understand the importance of letting go of that feeling. She would hold on so tight that her body would shake. And I could see the effects that this lack of letting it go did on her body. My mom, a slender lady, whittled away down to, what was it, 89 pounds, something like that. And a lot of it was due to not letting go of things, not releasing. I don't know if you've ever done that exercise where they say, okay, hold out a fist and make it as tight as you can. Tighter, tighter, tighter. And now somebody wants to send you something good into your hand. You can't accept it. There is no way that thing is going to be able to come into you because you are so closed off. And when you try to let go, it's painful. If you hold onto that muscle so long, so strong, it hurts to let it go. Releasing can feel painful, but only for a short time. It's more painful to hold on to it all. Forgiveness allows you to move forward. Forgiveness allows you to let go. Not say that something that happened to you that was wrong was okay because you forgave them. No. What it is you allowed yourself to finally be free of that hurt, of that pain. And in allowing that forgiveness of them, not condoning the behavior, but allowing that forgiveness into you, it was amazing how people change, how lighter and brighter they feel. On the few times that I was able to help my mom get over that anger and get over those feelings of resentment and I'll never forget this and I'll never forgive that and so on. Oh, I felt sorry for my mom and I didn't know how to fix it. I was just a kid. But when I could point out, when she did listen, you know, how the other person made that mistake and I had seen it plainly, but she obviously had not. She was blinded by rage at that time. Then she understood and was able to let some of these go. There's a story of a man, he's in an airplane, and behind him is a little child screaming, crying, kicking, everything. And this man, and I'm sure most of the other passengers too, but this man was thinking, geez, if only that kid would shut up. Like, can't you control that kid? You know, all these thoughts were going through this man's head. And this child was crying and crying, and it was just inconsolable. Later on, the woman that was holding this child came up and apologized to him and said, I'm sorry. I know that you know, this child's screaming and crying and kicking has been very bothersome to you. and I do apologize, but you see, just lost his mother, he lost his father, and he lost his brother in a car accident. We're his only family, and we're taking him home to live with us now. And he doesn't know how to explain those emotions. Instantly, like that, the man no longer had those feelings of rage and hate and torment. It was one of compassion and love. And that poor kid, what he must have gone through in order to, and now be in this situation. And oh my goodness. And it's all because the woman, explained and apologized. That, had the child apologized himself, I'm sure it would have felt even better. But you can't expect that of a little child. However, understanding with compassion and kindness what that little boy was going through, and the terror he must have been feeling, going with strangers that he had only met a few times when he was a baby, maybe. Now he's going off on an airplane, never been on an airplane. Can you imagine that? Instant forgiveness, instant. I mentioned in the write-up that there was a thing that I'm doing now. I call it the kindness key. There's another man who does compassion key, and I learned some of it from him. And I took it with my own spin on things, because there was some things missing in my humble opinion. He's doing great work. He gets thousands of followers and so on, just like the people, I think it's Joe, he does the Ho'oponopono. I can't think of his last name right now. You would know it if you heard it. And many other people have done research and work on forgiveness, and I too have done research and work on forgiveness, and the idea of I'm sorry that happened to you. And I thought it was very interesting. I shared with a fellow that I know, known to be a bit of a hothead, and he's working on his issues and so on. He asked me for the typed up version that I had. I was sharing with him the information from this, and he asked me for the typed up version. I had given him the links to several people's work, saying, this is where I got my work from. And they were all audios and videos. Nothing was written down. I had taken the time to write down some, and then, as for me, it's normal now, getting downloads and channelings from my people, source and others, as to what to say and what to put down on paper, and how much better he felt. And I only read to him like 12, 15 statements in which he was acknowledging parts of himself. I know these parts of themselves, people's selves, as aspects, so aspects of himself. Others might refer to it as inner children. Because I work with past lives and future lives, I just don't seem to resonate with inner child so much. I understand where it comes from, because if we only focus on the one life that we have here at this time, then yes, your childhood is where you learned everything, and up until the age of 7, you're that sponge that takes it all in, and then not until you are in your early 20s for women and mid to late 20s for men, that things really start to shift and change, and you can start being your own person. There's stuff that happens, of course, all along that timeline, but it doesn't really solidify until those late stages and ages. And so here he was after 15 statements. He said, I feel so much better. Can you send me out the statements? So I have them, and I sent them to him. And this was just minutes before I got on here with you all. So the power of forgiveness is very important. It really is. And when you can speak to those aspects of yourself that have been disrespected, have been hurt, have been feeling neglected, unworthy, less than, and so on and so on. The stories that we tell ourselves to make ourselves either feel worse by calling ourselves name and what we did as stupid and or that we didn't do enough, and feeling that statements that I wrote down, Donald. It was really important to address those aspects. I'll share a few of those statements. So before you go into this, the idea is to give yourself a number rating of 1 to 10. When you think of whatever it is that's bothering you, is there no resistance, so it's a 10, all is gravy? Or is it a 1, and the thing is, you don't deserve whatever happiness or whatever it is? So you might work on, for example, I deserve a loving relationship. How does that feel? Or I deserve a bigger paycheck, or I deserve a bigger home. Pick something, whatever it is, and then give yourself a number. Nah, that's not true. 1. Or there's no resistance. I accept that. That's true for me. I accept that I deserve a loving relationship, a bigger home, a bigger paycheck, you name it. And then by focusing on your breath, breathe in and out a few times, and talk to yourself. Talk to those aspects of you that are hurting. For example, you can repeat after me. I'm so sorry it wasn't safe for you to receive love. Not, I'm so sorry it's not safe for us or safe for me. Safe for you. You are giving compassion to those aspects of yourself. I'm so sorry it wasn't safe to receive love. I'm so sorry you couldn't trust love. I'm so sorry love wasn't stable and steady for you. I'm so sorry you couldn't control love. I'm so sorry when you opened yourself up to receiving love, it still abandoned you. I'm so sorry when people give you love, they only do it because they want something in return. I'm so sorry that love comes with strings attached. I'm so sorry it wasn't safe to have love or for you to keep love. I'm so sorry it wasn't safe to acknowledge and name your difficult feelings around love. So this gives you an idea of what you're saying to yourself. And my friend who started out at a 7 was down to, and I quote, 0.8. It wasn't a 0, was it? But it was less than 1. From a 7 down to a 1, less than 1. 15 sentences, I told him. Then he repeated them. And it's not like he repeated them with the same empathy that I have in my voice when I say these things. He's a man. I'm sorry it wasn't safe to receive love. I'm sorry you couldn't trust love. Like, it was very matter of fact, very, very masculine. And it had that dramatic an effect on him. It's amazing the power of forgiveness. It's amazing how our bodies, our minds, our beings seem to be hardwired to this. And who knows, right? If this is something that can be done for you, wonderful. Take what I've taught you here and run with it. Run with it. Figure out what it is that you would like and run with the I'm so sorry statements and see how you feel after that. Do you feel lighter, brighter, happier? Did you go down in numbers? Are you feeling that effect? John sure did. He felt that shift right away. It was amazing, amazing. Now, he is an energy worker and he does work on his own stuff, and he and I do energy exchanges. That's one of the ways I keep my energy up, is by going to energy healers myself. We do exchanges. And I have even paid my friends, look, I need more than our weekly sessions. I want to pay you for your time, and I pay them for sessions rather than going to, other people who I'm sure are just as qualified, but why not give the money to a friend instead, right? And not that I worked on forgiveness, this was other things, but it's one of the ways that I keep my energy up. And I am definitely going to be delving more into what I'm calling the kindness key. Thanks, Lisa. And helping people with that. Because sometimes when you're in the depth of your own stuff, you can't see it. You can't see the forest for the trees, like you really can't. And you need an outside pair of eyes to help you. And so, that's something that I do. I think it's important to my mental, emotional, spiritual, physical well-being. It's something that I find invaluable. Like it's worth the money. So if you're interested, I haven't got a write-up on this yet. But I do have the kindness keys written out for a few different objectives to help people with. And if there's something you're interested in, just either message me here on Messenger, drop me a line in the Facebook. My website is wholeheart8.com. I'll just write that in. There we go. No, that's not it. Wholeheart8. .com. There we go. And just book a session. And it's not a problem. We can help you figure things out and get you feeling lighter and brighter. I look forward to hearing from the mom of that 18-year-old girl to see what has been transpiring for her. And I look forward to being able to be of more service for her, because I know the power that there is in forgiveness with all these different modalities, with all these things just right in your face in the news, how important an apology or looking, sorry, or saying sorry, or forgiving yourself, or forgiving the other person. That also feels good to forgive the other person as well. That's all part and parcel of it. It's all interconnected. Just message me. We'll see what we can do. So I look forward to being of service to you next week. I am Monika Dena Huppertz of Whole Heart Energy Healing, wishing you a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. May God bless. Now I got to find the button. There it is. I think that's the button. Yep, there it is. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.